I'm very excited to introduce you Professor Dr. Othmar Wickenheiser. Probably you heard his name from me before because since last 1.5 years, I visited multiple times the school, Hochschule Munchen, and Dr. Wickenheiser students, transportation design students. 3 of them were for Viscom AI for car design workshop. 1 of them was for the diploma show. And recently I was like a guest on their current project, ongoing project, like 2 days ago. Because right now, not right now, but the video interview you will watch was during the car design event in Munich. It was a great event. I will make another video about it. But Dr. Wickenheiser was also there. Some of the students were there. They presented a full-scale model of a student project, which is very rare and very lucky students. And I had a chance to interview him for my channel to ask him questions like the advice for the young students. So I believe this interview is really important and inspiring for you because I remember when I was a student, even now, whenever I see a car design video, I just watch it. But when I was a student, it was even more different. It was even more impactful because I remember watching the same videos again and again. And I think this interview is also like one of the good ones that you will enjoy. I don't want to keep this introduction part too long, but I also want to add this. Every time I visit him, like every time I visit the school and when I see his interaction with the students, when he's teaching something with a passion and with amazing knowledge. By the way, he wrote multiple books, like one of them is Audi Design. And you will hear about his background with Audi, but there are also other books that he wrote featuring the projects of the students as well. And every time I learn something myself from just watching him. So I'm really happy that you will have a chance to listen him now yourself. So enjoy the interview. Great to see you again.
Hey, Mr. Kaplan.
Welcome to my channel officially.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Othmar Wickenheiser.
Mein Name ist Othmar Wickenheiser, ich bin Automobildesigner und leite da den Schwerpunkt Transportation Design. Wissen Sie, das Wichtigste an diesem Automobildesign ist ja nicht, dass ich glücklich bin, sondern dass Sie die Chance haben, über das, was Sie können, Ihr Wissen auch in der Industrie zu beweisen. Die Projektpartner sind im Wesentlichen die Brücke aus der Hochschule in die Professionalität. Das Tolle ist, dass Sie sie schon während des Studiums kennenlernen und die dann in die Betriebe und in die Studios eingeführt werden.
Also für mich ist es besonders an unserem Transportation Design Kurs, dass wir eben einmal das Studio haben hier in der Uni, wo uns einfach der Raum gegeben wird, wo wir zusammen arbeiten können. Dadurch, dass wir auch alle Jahrgangsstufen gemischt sind, unterstützt sich jeder, motiviert sich jeder untereinander und ja, macht das Ganze zu einem viel spaßigeren und familiären Erlebnis.
Vor allem das Thema Up-to-Date sein ist halt auch super wichtig. So. Warum ist der Cybertruck gerade ein Trend? Gibt es da die Möglichkeit, das Auto mal in echt zu sehen, um es besser zu verstehen? Und ja, gibt es. Deswegen gibt es auch gerne mal eine Exkursion dafür.
Das Car-Design-Event, das findet immer jährlich in der Motorball statt, ist für uns halt eine super klasse Chance, die Designer auch wirklich mal über ihr Design sprechen zu sehen, wo wir eben auch die Designer zu den Themen AI und zum Portfolio Fragen stellen konnten und auch direktes Feedback bekommen haben, was denn überhaupt gefragt ist, weil wir uns ja schließlich bei denen dann auch bewerben.
Eigentlich ist die wichtigste Eigenschaft nicht eine technische Fähigkeit, sondern definitiv, dass Sie mit Ihrer Haltung einer Obsession fast brauchen oder zumindest eine Leidenschaft, wo Sie einschätzen können, ich gehe nicht zur Arbeit, sondern yippie, ich kann spielen und dabei kommt ein fantastisches gestaltetes Produkt heraus.
As you know, I'm a professor at University of Applied Science, and I'm heading the Transportation Design course. And we are having as a goal to get all students and graduates into car industry. That's why we purposely work only with so-called sponsored projects to have the companies come in with an assignment and gather the students around. So the goal basically is to get the network up for the students so they get acquainted with the people from the car studios and they have like what we call real work experience, even though they're just students. And that helps them when they present their portfolio. They have like Audi, BMW, Lamborghini, Porsche, and so forth in their portfolios. And as you saw last year, we were starting a project with Hyundai, and basically in all, at least German-based car studios, there's quite a few of my students working there as professional car designers.
Actually, about that, I saw your presentation today, and there was 93% of the success rate.
Yes, actually, it's. I have the exact figures because I prepared that presentation just a week ago. It's 302 graduates, and it's 287 people working in car industry as car designers.
Wow.
So it's roughly speaking 90.4%. I'm not a figure guy, but basically, if I say almost all of them got a job, this is the message I would like to spread. You know, all the Germans people tax go into funding the school. It's a state organized school, so I'm working for the state. And they gave me an assignment, please make these, let's say, undergraduates during your studies become professionals. So my goal is, my job, so to speak, is that they have the job in the end. And if I fulfill that goal, I'm good. And if not, honestly, it's not the students who have not been performing, it's me. Because if I have the right method, if I have the right teaching approach, if I can motivate, and if I can start to create a network for each and every student, it is easier to apply. I'm not saying it's no work. The students really have to work their ears off. But nevertheless, if you're engaged to become a car designer, you're mostly driven by internal motivation. I actually have to demotivate students, go home, it's 10 o'clock in the evening, and come back tomorrow, don't work all weekend, and so forth, instead of, hey, could you come up with maybe another 1 or 2 hours per day? This is not the talking. Basically, for me, I'm in flames still since I was studying car design and become a professional car designer. So I used to work for Audi. When the school hired me, I think it is a really nice profession. When I was a car designer at Audi, I had quite a few colleagues which were my competitors, because I wanted to win the model, and they wanted to win the model, so we were racing. And sometimes I won, sometimes they won, and this was a constant, let's call it little battle, and very competitive. Not using elbows or anything, but you were not friends, you were colleagues. And when I was asked to give my first lecture, which was 1991, that's a really long time ago.
Before me,
I made the experience. I just came in with my work, which was sent off for Audi to be presented and signed off by Audi that I may spread the news. And I showed them my work. I worked and lived and worked with them for these, basically was 8 hours teaching on Fridays. And my boss, Hartmut Vakus, who was the head of design at Audi at that time, said, this is our investment, our contributions to have great new talents coming in. And I found it so rewarding, because I'm not doing that race. I was basically like not their trainer, but their co-worker, and I gave sample by performing car design, and they were catching up to the idea. At those days it was still mechanical work with art materials and so forth, but I was at Audi the first guy who was using computers effectively. Basically, first of all, a predecessor of Photoshop was called Schema Psyche, where you did graphical work, pixel-based, and I was trained in Milton Keynes in England by the company who was running that program. So I gave all this cutting edge technology of those days to the students, or reintroduced it. I was having a design and modeling program. It was called CDRS. Actually, if you compare it to things of today, it was such a rudimentary approach. But nevertheless, they have been shown, okay, there is this traditional world and there's this digital world, and the digital world just started to approach to not take over the traditional methods like clay modeling and so forth, but being an alternative. And my experience when I was at Audi and my first models were milled out, this was just such a surprise that truly the full-size model looked like what I had on my, at those days it was a small monitor. It was, that was the future for me. So when the school asked me, at the university asked me, do you want to become a professional teacher? I proposed that to Audi, and they said, okay, sorry you go, but if this is your passion, go for it. And I kept in contact, and I was still going back and forth. How can I say, maybe I was asked a few details, and I was recommending the students firstly to Audi, but all of my former colleagues went to Bentley, to Skoda, maybe to Volkswagen. So my former colleagues had been my network, and whenever I needed somebody to help me out, I could call my friend Dirk, call my friend from former Audi colleagues, and they came in and gave their expertise. So I started slowly but surely to build up this network, and right now there's like 300 guys I can talk, being my graduates or alumni, and I've never received an answer like, oh no, I have no time, I'm not interested. It's always yes, 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 I help you out. And that makes me happy, because not being colleagues or rivals, but having, let's call it close acquaintance or even friends that form my life. And who can claim that he has 300 close friends who be most helpful and have a great time? And we spend quite a lot of time together. And this is basically the secret to success, to have something that makes you happy. I love to help out people. I find it very rewarding if somebody goes after 3.5 years, hey, I'm working for, you name it, BMW, Porsche, and this is what makes me happy. The money is not that great as a professor, but the job is the perfect place to be.
Wow, like that's so true. Whoever I meet, okay, not whoever, but let me tell you this. Recently there was the car design event, a designers party, and I met with a gentleman, Imo, you remember?
Redeker.
Yes, and we were having a conversation. He's like at Audi, interior design manager, I guess.
Yeah.
And we were having conversations about AI and stuff. Then you were leaving the dinner party early, and he was like, oh, he was my professor. I was like, wow, is there anybody who you were not a professor in the industry? That's amazing.
Basically, you're in my neighborhood, so BMW, Audi, and so forth. I think it's close to 70 people working for BMW in the car design department. Same for Audi, Porsche, and the, let's say, OEM brands, which are in that area. But what we expanded to is all the studios, maybe from Korea, Japan, and now the Japanese company coming to the Munich area, having their own studios. That's where my students go. Basically, my students are so-called customers. These are my precious goods, and studios are having them as their co-workers. That's how the whole situation evolves. And it's the same thing. If I visit BMW design, it's very often that I meet like generations of guys and girls which had been former students and now are maybe head of design or head of interior, head of exterior. And it was really nice. Last time I went there was truly 4 generations and my graduate presenting his final thesis work. So it was like a really nice reunion of close friends, which become a working force for having great design results.
Wow, that's amazing. It's actually, you mentioned different generations of your former students, and I visited the school 4 times in less than 1.5 years, I guess. And I see the reason, because they all take care of each other. The culture in the school that you created are, as you mentioned, they are more friends than competitors. With a little tension of course, the nature of design works. But I think it plays a big role.
Actually, I was at a school which I found really demanding. I was at Art Center College of Design in Switzerland when they had an affiliated company there, and I went to the mother school in Pasadena. And this was the complete race. It was the complete race, not backstepping in the sense of being totally negative, but who was the best, the first, I mean the coolest, and so forth. I found that really not helping the design process, because if you're working to be the first, you forget about the team. And making car design is always a team effort. If you think you're the grand star and outshine everybody, and around you all the people are aggravated because you are this egoistic type of guy or girl, I don't think that has anything to do with an artistic process, with coming up with the finest design details. You just need to have a great atmosphere. And there's nothing better for health and atmosphere than to work with friends for a common goal. Naturally, if we have an assignment, it's the same assignment for each and every guy, but the worst case would be that they come up with the same results and they're all backstepping each other, and there's one guy left, one girl left, who's the winner. I mean, this is a lose for everybody.
I'd say it's also harder to get a job with this type of personality.
It's impossible.
Maybe you can get a job, but then when they realize you are not a team player, it's very difficult.
It's like a musician who always wants to be the first and loudest and outplays each and every member of your performance. I mean, it's just annoying. It's not helping the music, and it's like the same for aesthetics. If you are in the face of everybody, it doesn't help the process. It's not fun. It's not fun to be in that team. And if you're not a team member, actually, you know what? I had experienced guys which came in using elbows and, trying to outshine. I tell them, you know what, go study somewhere else where this is okay. Because it's a free choice of schools in Germany. Everything is for free. You don't pay tuition and so forth. It is just how I offer an atmosphere of well-being. It's not funny and lazy. We're working like mad. But we are not negative, and actually our first goal is, if the company comes in, the team is making a great impression. Naturally, each and every individual result, that's where to shine individually, but it doesn't mean I need to outshine somebody, and this is. If you ask me, this is basically the best way to start your career. Be a good team member, maybe be a good team leader. I always have a student who is the studio team chief. He is organizing, or she is organizing everything, communicating amongst the students, helping me out quite a bit with the communication between the company and the students. So I'm just coming in, connecting people, and the studio chief, if you read in the CV, I was studio chief at Munich University of Applied Science, Transportation Design. They are highly requested because they can organize, they can communicate, and naturally they're mostly the best designers. So that's why I installed that.
You mentioned also at the beginning of your teaching career that you were following the cutting edge technology and sharing it with students.
Yes.
And I see you still do it today. So you are still keeping the same method of teaching?
Yes, it's basically, it changed a little bit because naturally the students changed. My first student was like over 30 years ago, and there was a different sort of attitude towards how to study. You need to be eager to sit there for hours and have students intensively focusing on one piece of work. This is not the case anymore. People at that time were prepared to do that, and they were prepared that it is intensive and hard labor work before you come to a level where things work automatically and you are able to visualize your idea in a professional way. Other than that, we have now quite had two revolutions, so to speak. The first revolution that we evolved from using traditional artistic tools to come up with visualizing your ideas onto paper. That changed with means of Photoshop and what we tackled before in pixel and imagery to visualize your ideas. But then again, as we mentioned before as well, digital models were involving, and that had been two lanes. The pixel was quicker and it was more professional and easier to accept, and the model was a little bit slower. And now, looking back, I thought these were revolutionary tools, and I have to laugh almost if you see what AI can do in supporting even the basics in drawing skills. We both made that experiments when people from, they are basically software engineers and design out of that study group, and they're not very articulate in drawing skills. And they caught on to the idea of studying transportation time, participating in the course, and you would not be able to tell at the end of the course who was from what level. Is that like the guy from 7th term? Is this the guy from the 2nd term? Is he from photo design major? Is that a professional car designer, already did 5 projects? The level was equal, and not equally low, but equally high, always at the professional, compared to a professional studio result. And yes, if you can utilize new tools, why not? Naturally, I see all these reframing from, it's going to substitute the designer. No, actually, I need to adapt my teaching because we are saving a little bit time of this laborious practicing to become an eloquent drawing major. This is cut out because you have programs like Viscom that help you. You can invest that time super wisely in to come up with a greater concept and with a much broader variety, and having, if you have a creative block, which is basically not possible, but if people are not creative each and every day in the same productivity, and if you have, I call AI a sparring partner, if you have somebody to talk to who gives you sparks of ideas in order to give you a total different perspective, in order to make different combinations and use stable diffusion, because all pictures which are applicable to be reproduced in new ideas, that's basically what we did before. We looked at Behance and what have you, getting inspired by the pictures and make alterations. I mean, we don't live in a totally free area where everything is just in our brains. We are visual people, to combine and to get inspired. And that's basically what AI does. It takes everything, all the pictures which exist, and it mixes it up. And with the input of a sketch and the input of the prompt, it just creates the perfect balance to be a sparring partner. And this, to me, I mean, sometimes if you're not a car guy, I go on people's nerves because I'm talking about cars and design all the time, and it could get boring to somebody who's interested in something else. I've never experienced that Viscom says, you know what, let's talk about something else. It's always like, hey, I got more ideas. But now it becomes really the skills, which used to be the design boss's skills, like the guy who is the chief of design. He knows to take out of all these proposals, maybe 100 proposals, which is the most promising for the prosperity of the company and fits the best for the customers. These editing, or let's say reframing what was the design assignment and what is the anticipated best result. These are criteria which I usually bring to OEMs being a consultant, because if I talk to the design chiefs, they're not interested in how to sketch and how to design. They're interested, how can I make the best decisions? And this is what I used to introduce while the people are in 8th term and doing their thesis, for example. I start to inject this knowledge. And this now is the second thing in first term. Get Viscom going, do your design proposal, start to be a good author of prompting, and have the theoretical background. I know it's a dry word and it doesn't seem like having an emotional outcome. Get the theory straight in order to make the most promising results. And if you have this variety of sketches, edit what you will show to design management. And basically that's what you would do in industry as well if you're already a senior designer, or if you're in the design management making the decisions. Usually if you're a designer, maybe first job, you're making proposals, somebody else chooses out of your, of course, deliberate proposals, but this is now necessary because if you come up with, let's say, 100 or 200 pictures of flat work, who is going to edit your images? Your boss. Your boss will tell you, Jesus Christ, give me your best proposal. And if it's not the best, it is, let's say you have this trial and error random approach, it's just not working. You have to have the theory behind it, and that's basically how I adapt. Cutting edge technology, yes, but without also reframing what is necessary to become a professional decision maker in design, it wouldn't work out. It would be just, like illustrators. You don't have a design proposal, you're just making an illustration, a picture which was in your head, you visualize it. And we're not illustrators. We use illustration nature capacity in order to get our design proposals going on the road as physical models in series. And this now needs to be reframed so not all the proposals you created are presented, but the most promising. But since you have this great variety, and since you have a quality, which is usually what you get as an end result, the AI is the game changer. And if you're not using it, it's up to you. But I think it's a mistake. You can't keep up with the pace, you can't keep up with the quality, you can't keep up with the professionalism. And why not use what helps you out? I'm using a washing machine. Do you think I'm still going to the river, having my soap bar and rubbing my t-shirt to make it clean again? Maybe if you're nostalgic, it's a good idea. But if something works better and you just need to reframe your structure of being successful, I'll adapt and do it. And I'm so happy that this is in my career hitting at such a late time, and it's still accelerating. I thought, hey, Photoshop is the great innovation. And then I thought, hey, Maya, Blender, what have you, is the greatest innovation. And now I say, hey, AI is the greatest innovation which I have experienced through my long career as a professional car designer. And I will promote it. And actually, I would be a really, really bad professor if I reframe of using it because people are scared that AI is taking your position. I mean, this is complete BS.
Yeah. Wow, that's a great summary of the AI topic that I was planning to ask you, and it's related to cutting edge technology.
Yes.
Anyway. But I want to come back to your education methods by asking you, today there was a release, the reveal of the Hyundai project, the student project featured Hyundai brand.
Yeah.
And one of your students, Dominic, did a great job presenting it with such a nice presentation. So is this part of your studies, like studies for the students? Do you teach them how to present,
Yes.
or is it just a natural skill of your students?
Yes. No, it's not a natural skill. It's actually, when I was a student, I studied technical engineering before, and I had a speech problem. If there was a crowd who expected that I communicate, I got nervous. I was not sweating, but like not being able to get out the words properly, and I felt weak and insecure. And when I went studying at Art Center, my first presentation was so bad. First of all, I'm not a native English speaker. Then I had to talk about my emotions. And as an engineer, you're not all that often asked to talk about your emotions and how you want to convey the message of your emotions into the three-dimensional dynamic sculpture and so forth. And you have all these 17, 18-year-old school kids, so to say, they go, hey, dude, I'm so cool and I love, and I mean, Jesus, I thought, is this like almost like if you're a professional theater course, have then be trained to be totally funny, totally convincing, totally cool? And this was like California, they're not cool, they're super cool, super relaxed, super convincing, super funny. And I go, Jesus, I'm so boring. I'm just red, blue, green. And my professor said, what I like is your sketches, but I hate your presentations. Loosen up, guy, loosen up. Go drink. And since I don't drink alcohol or do any drugs, I was not in the frame of mind, and I had a great advice. Just do as if you presented a present to your friends and they are happy that you are presenting. That was the best advice, because I thought, Jesus, if I make a mistake, if I'm getting stuck, if I'm stuttering, I mean, that all happened, and I slowly but surely gradually loosened up, and I had a great advisor from a Korean car company who was a fellow student, and he says, hey, you have all this technical background. Forget about your technical background. That was your old life. Now your new life is your aesthetic professionalism, and you have to talk about what a sculpture is evoking as emotions. And he was just a super cool dude to help me out on presentation skill, even though his English was worse, but his presentations were really, really fiery. So coming up gradually, I just thought, if I do this for my best friends and they are happy, and this is my attitude, and I try to teach the students now, not free speech or so, I'm not a professional creator, but first of all, if you know what you talk about, and if you have the key features on, let's say, a short list of what you want to mention, the words in between come so natural. But if you are coming to the presentation, not being prepared, and then think, oh, there's this audience, what am I going to say? Let's improvise. I think it's bullshit. Because you're in a special situation, you want to come across as being professional, you don't want to waste people's time talking laboriously, too long, boring, strange ideas, not structured and so forth. And I think the same with a picture. If you draw a picture and it has no backbone of what you want to communicate, it's not worth looking at. But if you're talking, it's the same thing. If you're not eloquent and you don't have a structure, it is nerve-wracking to listen to that guy or girl. I mean, it is an integral part of your communication and your convincing methods to have this proposal transported into real life. If you leave out, it is like if you're missing one of your teeth. You can laugh, but nobody is concentrating on your funny expression. Everybody says, there's this gap in the mid of his face, and they are concentrating on that. So I found it really advantageous when I got the advice. So I thought when I was a professor, I need to train the students to come naturally. It has to not be a game, or it has to be not, like a fake talk, trying to be professional, but get it structured, get it short, get it exciting, and try to make the people happy with what you present. And that's, today was a perfect example. Dominic, 3 minutes and every second was interesting. And it was not, any word was superfluous, and it was not, like boring, it was inspiring, and you felt like, hey, I could ask him 1 or 2 more questions if we had the time, and that's about it.
Wow. I heard some people even ask, like, who is the designer of the They didn't believe he was a student, right?
Yeah, we hire a professional presenter. That was one of the questions. So who was the guy presenting and who did the model? No, it's the same guy. It's the same guy. I have to say, Dominic is a special student because he already finished his studies as a mechanical engineer. He has 2 years of experience, and he said, well, my dream is to become a car designer. And when he approached me, I said, okay, if you want to take the risk of stopping your career and starting from scratch, go ahead. I can just encourage you, because it reminded me of my story, and he's so happy and successful now. And it didn't come natural, because as an engineer, you always have to mathematically prove that there is this one best way. And this is just the exact different frame of mind which you have to have as a designer. You take this, call it shotgun approach, where you are not really hitting anything truly, but you may be having a selection of possible results, and you are gradually working your way to the final result. So it's totally different. You're not proving anything, you're not calculating anything. If you have have an engineer, give him a mathematical assignment, you have 10 different results. Worst case scenario. And just the other way around in design. If you have different results, different approaches, you have a variety, and your boss will love you, because if all the principles are applicable to the assignment, that would be the greatest thing. They can choose, they can decide, and they can take your recommendations and make your dream come true to have this car on the road.
That actually, like the way you mentioned about Dominic, shows me that you don't have a lot of strict requirements to accept new students. So what does this process look like? If somebody who's watching this
Yes.
video want to apply, what would be the process?
It's actually not so easy to get in. If you apply for first term, you have to have a portfolio still. You hand this portfolio in. We are only accepting once a year, so like in May, you hand in your portfolio. We review all the applications, and we have maybe like 50 to 60, maximum 80 people, which we are inviting to cover our 30 spaces for first term studies. If you are chosen to come in, we have a 3-day, I'm sorry, it's only 2 days now, 2-day exams where we do interviews and where we give out assignments in order to see how do they cope with the prosperity assignments, because it's actually what we do later on in first term. You get this assignment and how do you approach this assignment. So we get a little insight of how would they cope and how would they approach and how do they talk and so forth. And then out of these 80 max people, we select 30, and if you're the lucky one to well, then you get accepted and you start your career from there.
So let's say it's done. I get into school.
Yes.
I spend my time almost finishing now.
Yeah.
Actually, it doesn't have to be Hochschule Munchen, but any student who is almost graduating now, getting ready for the market, what would be your suggestions in general and also about the portfolio?
While you study, you need to build up a network of people who are working in industry, because if you have no connection, you'll be neglected. If you write a letter, dear Mr. Mercedes, I'm a car designer. Would you like to invite me to work for you? It's almost impossible that anybody answers.
You can find
No.
out, right?
No, it's like, how do you direct your approach and your application to somebody you don't know? I mean, if you write to HR department making this blind application, I don't see why they should accept it. It's roughly speaking between 200 and 300 applications a year. So you are in this stack of applications, and if they have find the time to scan it, I don't mean to be rude. Naturally, you have a chance, but the possibilities that this chance just hits you with your applications are so small that you're probably neglected. And my recommendation is get professional experience with true companies. So you have, like, you're 25 years old and you have 3 years of professional experience and you present your portfolio. I did this for company XYZ, and they have all the possibility to see if you apply for a company you haven't worked with before. They see, he did this 911 for Porsche, so he knows the evolutionary process and what is the key idea. So you did this car for Volkswagen, or you did this car for Hyundai. They can transfer your skills to their special assignments. So network, naturally the professional capabilities of designing the car, but I take this for granted. Network and professional experience while you're studying is what my key to success is for the students.
Well, that's a great advice, but you also mentioned you are 25, for example. I also get some questions sometimes. I'm 45 and I want to be car designer. Do you think it's possible? Is there an age limit? What will be your record?
An age limit in years, I don't think it's so important when you are born. If you're young in mind and you're still creative, I think it's more complicated if you make an application for being for your first job and you're 45 years old. But I don't think it's impossible. I haven't seen it too often. Maybe 1% of my graduates are older people, not being like the typical between 18 and 25 years old. But it's rare, and it's possible. I wouldn't reframe. If this is my dream, I would at least try to make it become true. And if you're not successful, you can at least not say, I never tried. And we experience some guys today who are super coryphée of a different profession and always regretted that they didn't become a car designer. Naturally, they have all other valves to give their passion a platform, collecting great cars and so forth. But basically, you talk to this gentleman, he's almost 65 years old, and he still has this dream to become a professional car designer. And I think through AI, you can help him out to be at least have his passion become a professional approach.
So, I have one last question for you for today, because I know we both are a little bit tired. You still seem super energetic and positive, but we had all day of presentations and events, so it was amazing. The last question is, you said your career started over 30 years ago. If you were younger today, if you were 20 years old, would you pursue car design again?
Yes, I would pursue car design again, because creating objects and appealing to people's liking, so they fall in love with an object, is something which is so rewarding that I would pursue the same path. I don't know if I would be going to school. Maybe if there was a school around, being professional, has a great team and working with industry, because if you're not working with car industry, you maybe today can build your own car, but this will be just your car. If you want to have cars being built for a broader audience, this is almost impossible to come up with the statute to make it yourself. I would do the same thing once again, maybe not start technical engineering as a first study, maybe helping to different car companies as an intern, because I never did an internship. I graduated from Art Center, started to work, and then I changed my job into becoming a professional teacher. I would, if I would be 20 years old, I would maybe study where I have a lot of possibilities to maybe work at Porsche and then at Bugatti and then at MAN to do trucks and so forth, to get a broader spectrum of what can be approached as a future job. That what I would be maybe different.
I would say that's kind of the reason I go freelance
Yes.
as well, because on freelance,
Or do
it's
freelance.
like you have
Exactly. If you know what, if I work, when I was working at Audi, you naturally did an Audi. Guess what? Then the next thing was an Audi. It was not Audi 80, it was then the Audi 100, and then you did an Audi again, and the exposure to people were the same, 20 people, probably over those 5 years I was working there. And one more thing is, I have been working 75 sponsored projects in the past 30 years. And these 75 projects have not been only Audi. And all the people who are coming in, we have a multicultural audience, the students coming from all places, the professionals coming from the car studios are from all places. So the exposure on a cultural, on a professional, on, let's say, the youth level, working with young students, well, naturally you have to stay a little younger, at least in mind, in order to be able to communicate on the same level and get understood. I found that it is just so fulfilling, my profession. Don't tell my boss, but if I was not paid anything, I would charge my batteries being a professor, and it is not giving energy, it is basically more receiving than giving.
Wow. That's great to talk with you always. And I'm really glad we had this opportunity today.
Same here.
But I'm sure I will visit soon again you in Munich. And I want to ask, like, if you guys have any questions related to, I mean, as you see, anything basically, you can write down in the comments. So I think next time we can do another interview.
Sure.
To continue this. It was amazing.
Always great with you. Thank you very much for the chance to talk to your audience. I love to answer all the questions. Keep up the good work and the good spirit.
Thank you very much.